All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. This is another quick hit, and it's with someone who's been on the show, I think probably about 4 times now over the past few years, and is always welcome back as a guest. But I think that this is kind of a cool conversation because we're going to be talking about something a little different today. So I think the best way to start this off is if you want to introduce yourself and maybe just give a bit of background about what it is you're doing aside from what people know you for.
Yeah. Well, it's Greg Rekus here. I've been playing music around Winnipeg for about the last 20 years or so, and because of the current situation we are all in, about a year ago, maybe 8 months, I started my own YouTube channel just for fun and kind of a new challenge to see if I could actually do it. And my next episode, which should be launched in about 2 weeks, is going to be my 30th episode already.
Nice. So you actually, I think, got to the point where now it's actually a thing, right? I think there's a cutoff with doing anything like a podcast or a YouTube channel where, you do a few episodes and a lot of people bail after the first couple of them because it's not going the way they expect it to or whatever. But I think you're firmly entrenched now that you're coming up to episode 30, right? You've developed what it is your show is, and you have an audience going forward. So it's very cool.
Yeah, I definitely feel committed now. Like, for a while there, when I wasn't at work at all, I was getting about an episode out a week. And I really liked it. It was kind of like, you get one day or so to write the script.
Yeah.
And then you get a day to film it, start cutting it. And usually by Saturday or Sunday, it was done. But now that I'm back at work, I get about an episode every 2 weeks. But it was kind of something like I'm a doer, right? I'm someone who has to always be doing something.
I don't think that's not a surprise to anyone who knows you, right? I mean, you always have something going on for sure.
Yeah, and I've always loved, like, Vsauce is a channel I've been watching for years since I kind of first got into watching YouTube stuff. There's a bunch of sciencey shows, other stuff that I love watching. And it was always like, I'd love to do that too. I want to play too.
Yeah.
I did have to upgrade my computer a bit, but I just shoot it with my phone. When everything first hit again, way back a year and a bit ago, I was recording videos of me playing guitar in my van.
I remember those. Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of noticed, like, the acoustics in this van are like perfect. I really liked them. And also I was in an apartment where, there's kind of menacing noises all over the place. The radiator is super loud.
Sure.
So the van's kind of my little secret spot where I could go and record these things. And it's kind of my own little world for a minute or two, aside from the odd car that drives by or person that walks by.
That just adds to the ambiance though, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of to try to keep it consistent. That's another thing I wanted, is where if you watch multiple episodes, I guess I get the odd haircut. So that's the only, only thing that's really different. I wear the same hoodie every single time too.
That probably also doesn't surprise people who know you.
I wanted to do one episode where it opens up of me, like, getting ready.
Yeah.
And I opened up a closet that just has nothing but red hoodies, and I pick one. But
nice. So I guess, like, what is the how does doing this differ creatively than playing music? Because, I mean, again, people know you for decades now as a local musician, whether it's as a solo artist or in bands. And this is, to me anyway, using a different part of your brain in terms of creating, right?
100%. Like, for me, I'm one of those people. I know some artists are constantly writing. They're like a song a day kind of artist. I like to write a whole album in about the span of a year-ish. And then I like to take a break. I mean, if a good idea comes, it's not like I can't write something, but I don't really focus on that. And I'm also a touring machine. So I kind of like to switch gears where, you kind of develop all this stuff, these ideas and little riffs that are floating around. And then I kind of really explode after I feel I've kind of grown a bit more. And again, nothing against the artists that maybe do it another way, but that's kind of what's worked for me. The YouTube thing, every single week or 2 weeks, I have to kind of come up with another thing to do. And I started with a list of like 25 ideas, and I've already like kind of surpassed that list. And some of them also I was like, oh, that, it seemed like a good idea at the time, but it's not really right now. But that also kind of keeps it fresh, and it kind of keeps a bit of forward momentum. When I'm on a tour, you're kind of always doing something, right? Like, either you're driving to the place. I try really hard to write all my friends in each town and let them know I'm playing. Whereas now this is something where it's kind of like an endurance contest to, okay, can I write today? Can I write a script? Even though I don't really want to, like, I got to edit today. So there's a little bit more like got to do it stuff to it. But I also, once you finish one, you kind of watch the episode. And if it makes me smile, and if one or two friends write back saying it brightened their day, then it's worth it. Right.
Well, it's funny because I mean, I've been doing this podcast, as you know, for a long time, and what you're doing is similar, but it's also very different in the sense that I'm just sitting here talking to people, whereas yours is much more, like you said, is scripted. There's more editing involved, and the video component is obviously a huge part of it. So, what background do you have for doing any of that stuff? Is it just come from promoting your own music and coming up with ideas over the years with that?
Yeah, like watching John Paul Peters, who I've worked with at Privateer a million times, watching him edit, I definitely got a sense of like, okay, I know kind of how I've watched him cut stuff.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
can take two takes where I screwed up in one and you can cut them together. And then I took multimedia in high school, but you know, we're going back like the 100 years, the turn of the century
totally,
when I
totally.
graduated.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
We're
that
old enough. Yeah.
I wouldn't say that was necessarily that big of a help to it. A lot of it was I downloaded DaVinci Resolve, which Marty, who does a bunch of amazing video stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
we were both in High Five Drive together. He suggested that one because it would kind of be somewhat user friendly. It's free. So basically started with like, okay, I watched a video to get it. How do you start? And then I'd edit until I got to a point where I didn't know how to do it. I'd watch another YouTube video of how to do it. And then I get it done and kind of move on to the next.
Right.
And so it's, I wouldn't say necessarily self-taught, but definitely just using the resources on the internet to figure out how to do it. And I mean, I don't think they're necessarily like top quality professional, but I think it's good enough for YouTube. And you know, again, it's a new skill in these times where it's so hard to kind of keep forward momentum and not feel like everything is just falling apart and all this hard work isn't going somewhere. It really kind of helped keep me focused and just kind of doing something, you know, feeling like I'm still giving.
Well, here's a question then. What happens? I mean, obviously, no one knows what's happening with the pandemic. It could be next week. It could be over 2 years from now. Like it's so up in the air. But assuming it did end sooner rather than later, and you have the ability to go out and tour and play shows and record and all these things, what happens to this YouTube show? Are you hoping to continue going with it even when your regular life as a heavily touring musician comes back to normal?
Yeah, 100%. Again, I might not be able, I don't know if I'll be able to get back to that once a week video because it really was a full-time job to pump one of those out once a week.
Yeah.
However, on tour, there is definitely downtime. And my studio is my van. My computer is a laptop. So there isn't really a reason why I'd want to stop. And also, I was kind of thinking too, if I'm touring Europe, that could also be built into kind of the videos too, right? If I'm in Italy for a week and I do one about some of the history of Italy, I'm sure a bunch of friends would be interested in to be able to get shots of the actual place or, anything, right? That anything on the road that's kind of interesting might also help for kind of interesting subject matter for the episode. So it's definitely something I want to continue. And again, maybe it might end up being a monthly thing if I am on a really hectic tour.
Yeah.
Where maybe I'm on a bus for 20 hours and there's nowhere the plug isn't working for some reason or something. But it's definitely something I want to continue. I really like doing it, and I think it definitely has a future.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you're doing it. It's always cool to see people finding ways to be creative in a new way during this insane period of time we're in right now. So it's kudos for starting that up and keeping it going. What's I guess I've watched a bunch of them. I know your background as an artist. I know where you're coming from, and so who is the audience for this? Because obviously people who know you already are going to watch it because they want to see what you're doing and they want to, which is why I've watched it as well, right? But when it comes to, especially because YouTube is so just inundated with content, there's billions and billions of videos going up every day. How do you get your voice heard among all of that? And I know you're covering different topics, and suppose you had one on Super Nintendo games a while ago. I mean, how many thousands of YouTubers are doing that same subject, right? Like, what are you doing to kind of make your show heard? Because it's good, but it's so hard to get above the mess, right?
It is, and you definitely hit the nail right on the head, and very similar to playing music.
Totally.
I very much don't think I am the best at what I do. Few people are, right? They're, by definition, there's one person who is the best at what they do.
Right. Everyone else is at different stages of below that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also, having played music for so many years and kind of approach it realistically of like, well, it'd be nice to play in front of 1,000 people, but let's start with, finding 5 people in this city I've never been who will actually come to see me. And I kind of approach this as the same of like, okay, first of all, I wrote all my friends on Facebook or wherever, would you like to subscribe to this? I'm doing a channel to try to get that initial push. And then after that happened, that's kind of the most energy I put into that aspect. I obviously post, I just finished a video, but for the most part, I don't really want to try to herd people in. I'm not really great at computers, to be honest. And that whole social media aspect has always been my weak game.
Right.
And I even tried to hire, I have a publicist in Europe I've been working with for a few years. And I got them to do a short campaign, and they did as much as they could. It didn't really attract a lot more attention to it or anything. So I think a lot of the people who are watching it are just friends that are kind of in my friend circle.
Yeah.
And a lot of comments I got from people is like, oh, it's fun. It's like hanging out with you, right? It's kind of like if I appear in Calgary and I'm there for a day or two, I kind of get the chance to spend some time with some friends. This is somewhat the substitute for that. Like,
right. It's you talking about whatever topic you're talking about for that episode, but yeah, in a very casual kind of friendly way.
Yeah, and I try to make it topics too. I find either kind of things I'm interested in, things that people would relate to me.
Yeah.
A lot of people know I'm into space stuff. I'm into Super Nintendo games and just kind of random stuff. And it's all kind of fit together. And it's also been really fun to kind of re-explore a lot of that stuff. My SG that I played when I was in High Five Live, I mean, that thing gets touched once or twice a year at most. And it was really fun to kind of pull it out. And, as I was doing the takes, I was doing little noodling between them and stuff in the van. And yeah. So there's all sorts of little neat things that have emerged from this that I wasn't really anticipating that still make it fun and make me want to continue and do it more.
Very cool. So where can people find the videos? What's the best way to sort of track you down and watch what you're doing?
On YouTube, the Far From Gregular channel. If you go onto my Facebook, I believe my personal one, which makes me think I probably should start posting them on my music one also. And also my Instagram. Every time I upload something, I'll upload a picture of the screenshot. And of course, please subscribe if you want to know what I'm doing and stuff. That is the easiest way to find out about the videos. But again, I don't want to, it's not something I want to push too hard and really shove in people's faces. It's kind of, it's there. And if you want to check it out, there are people doing amazing things on YouTube, and I'm not necessarily trying to compete. I'm just kind of trying to do my own thing and, have some fun when I'm doing it.
Well, I can relate. Doing this podcast is the same thing, right? You're passionate about something, you want to talk about it, and you have an outlet to do so. So yeah, it's cool. But I'm glad to see you're doing it, and hopefully soon we'll be able to hear new music from you when music eventually comes back in its regular form. But for now, it's nice to, as you said, be able to hang out with you by watching your YouTube videos.
Yeah, it's kind of a pre-recorded hangout.
Yeah, for sure.